stream of Flesh and Blood TCG. This time we have Scent on the left versus Tom on the right, and it's going to be Rhinar versus Brute. Or I'm sorry, Rhinar versus Viserai, Brute versus Runeblade. So, this should be an interesting match. The two characters here, it looks like they're rolling to see who goes first. So the Brute player Scent is going to win the roll-off and choose to go first. So this should be an interesting matchup here. So Brute is, there's different styles that you can play with Brute. Sometimes it's aggro, sometimes it's more control-oriented, sometimes it's more mid-range. A character that has kind of some randomness involved. Class mechanic is Intimidate, which is a mechanic where when you do certain things, you can banish cards out of your opponent's hand temporarily and restrict their options on the defense. So this can be a really cool way to get some attacks in, even if the opponent would otherwise be able to protect, but because they get their cards back at the end. I think I just made their player card disappear. That's fine, they'll fix it. Well, that was an interesting gaffe. Sorry about that, guys. Back to the game. So the Brute has ways to make the opponent lose cards from hand, but they get them back after the turn ends. So even though it can remove their options to block, they still get a good chance to swing back. And that's kind of an interesting mechanic. So we see a Smash Instinct into Barraging Bighorn. As an additional cost to play this, discard a random card. If it's defended by less than 2 non-equipment cards, it has Go Again. Coming in at Strength 6. I think very likely we're going to see this defended. He does discard a card that has attack Strength 6 or more. So that will trigger Intimidate from Rhinar's ability. When you discard a card with 6 or more attack during your action phase, Intimidate. If he had discarded this Massacre, it would have actually Intimidated again because it has a special ability where if it's discarded to pay the cost of a Brute attack action card, you Intimidate. But that's not how it worked out, so then it's coming in just for 6 damage here. And it does have that little special effect. If it is defended by less than 2 non-equipments, it will gain Go Again. In this situation, it looks like 2 cards come out. I believe those are both cards that block for 3. So that is, so like if we look at this meet and greet, we see in the bottom right that little shield icon with 3. This card blocks for 3. In general, 3 is a standard number for block. Some cards block for 2. That's considered, obviously weaker. And then there are actually a few cards. What? Yeah, so it looks like he accidentally drew the cards that he had blocked with instead of the card that was Intimidated. Okay, so not sure what happened there. I guess some lag kicked in and he drew the wrong thing or something. Yeah, unfortunately, I don't remember which of the meet and greets he had blocked with, so he discarded the red one, but I don't remember if he had blocked with that one or with the blue one. I guess we could go back and see, but I suppose we'll see from the replay whether or not he did that correctly. In any case, when you're going first in this game, your opponent refills their hand completely after that attack, so there was often, the opponent is just going to be able to do a heavy block and will not be taking very much damage. So that's just one of those things. The advantage, though, is that it does mean that you're going to get some cards into discard. So if the game goes long and ends up being a fatigue game, then sometimes going first can have an advantage. We do see 54 remaining cards versus 54 remaining cards, so currently it's even. And I think that means that the Brute player is playing at 60, and I believe, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, both players playing at 60 here. Okay, so he throws out the meet and greet here. So this is, if this hits, create a Rune Chant token. It's an aura with when you play an attack action card or attack with a weapon, destroy it and deal 1 arcane damage to target opposing hero. If you have dealt or deal arcane damage to an opposing hero this turn, meet and greet gains Go Again. So in this case, what happened is he pitched this other blue meet and greet. used his Grasp of the Arknight to pay 2 to create a Runechant token, and then swung with this Meet and Greet. And because the Runechant token that he had just created hit, that meant that this gained Go Again. We are then going to see a full block using 2 pieces of equipment. So that means that he will not get an additional Runechant token. And then, but because he has Go Again, there is going to be an opportunity for him to, I think what we're going to see here is likely another card pitched and then a swing with the Reaping Blade. So probably in this situation, you would pitch Ascendancy, as that card is not practical under the current circumstances. And I think that's what we're going to see. Yeah, he pitches Ascendancy. So this is a really powerful card, but it costs 6. And it can be discounted by 1 for each Runechant you control, but currently he has 0. So the odds of him playing it this turn or next are low, and he opts to pitch it instead. It'll come back around. When you pitch cards in this game to pay for things, you gain energy equal to the number of little resource icons in the top left. So this one has 1 out of 3 potential slots filled. And additionally, one thing to note about that is that the stripe at the top, a red stripe indicates 1, a yellow stripe 2, a blue stripe 3. And so often you'll hear cards referred to as reds or whatever. So the Reaping Blade is a basic weapon where for 1 energy it can swing for 3. It also prevents healing if a hero has more life than any other hero. But in this case, the 3 damage swing there is simply blocked by a card with block 3, doesn't get in. Rolling the Scabskin. Oh, and he rolls a 1. Brutal. So Scabskin Leather is you roll a die and gain action points equal to half the number rolled, rounded down. He rolls and he gets a 1, so 1 rounded down is 0, and that means that no attacks are going to be able to be made. So sometimes we see Brute players playing Gambler's Gloves to allow a reroll if you do roll a 1 on a Scabskins or a Arg Smash or one of the other more random cards. In this case, he opted to equip the Nullrune Gloves here instead. So this is Arcane Barrier 1, allowing him to defend against those rune chants. Arcane damage can't be blocked normally, but you can defend against it with Arcane Barrier. So it is important to have an Arcane Barrier 1 item against a Runeblade, but I'm not sure if having it in the gloves here is the best, or whether, I don't know. I mean, it's conceivable that you would want to have a Nullrune Hood instead. It depends on how much you anticipate rolling stuff. Nullrune Hood instead of Skullcap, would allow you to take that Gambler's Gloves. It would reduce your physical armor, but it would give you more certainty on those Scabskin Leathers rolls. So unfortunately for Scent, that's going to be his turn. And on the right, we're going to see whether or not Tom can capitalize on that lost tempo. So Scent, was, I think, obviously hoping to get more out of that role than just this. Let's see how things progress. Michael Chen 12624 and Justin OCE, thanks for the follows, guys. Much appreciated. In the meantime, I'm going to highlight this Runechant token. So this is the core mechanic of Runeblade. When you play an action card or attack with a weapon, you destroy all your Runechant tokens that you might have, and each of them deals 1 arcane damage to the opponent, or technically to target opposing hero if it's a multiplayer game. So once again, we're seeing the Grasp of the Arknight used, 2 energy to create a Runechant token. It costs an additional 1 to activate for each Runechant you control, but he doesn't have any, so it's just 2 here. Then he's going to play a Come to Fight. The next attack action card you play this turn gains +3 with Go Again. And then I think we're going to see another Meet and Greet come out here. Oh, no. Okay, so he opts to play the other card, a Consuming Volition. And so this one is if he gets in with this 1 arcane damage, then Consuming Volition will gain. If this hits, then draw a card. If this hits, then your opponent has to discard a card. So I'm just pointing out, just to be clear. So he does opt to take the 1 arcane damage, which means that this is going to have, if this hits, then the opponent has to discard a card. And it has been buffed by this Come to Fight, which is the next attack action card you play this turn gains +3 with Go Again. And so it looks like we're going to see 4 blocked, so he's going to take 3 damage and discard a card? That doesn't seem right. Yeah, this is definitely not a good play because the discarded card would be worth 3 anyway. So he should just block with 2 cards, completely stop the attack, and uh, oh, you know what? He I think he made a mistake. He forgot about the come to fight, so he thought he was just blocking 4 to prevent the discard, but actually he needs to block 7. So let's see here. Hopefully his opponent is going to let him throw another card into this block. And it looks like he's kind of considering his options here. So the one of the things that's important in this game is on-hit effects. So there's a lot of cards that have strong on-hit effects. In general, against things that are just dealing damage, there's a fair amount of the time where the correct thing to do is actually just to say, whatever, I'm going to take the damage. But against things with on-hit effects, it becomes more important to sometimes stop the thing completely so you don't get hit by the effect. So in this case, he was originally going to block 4, thinking the attack was only going to do 4 damage, and then he wouldn't have to discard. But because it's 7, if he blocks 4, he'll have to discard a card, and he could have discarded that card to block anyway. So in this case, it's basically just to his advantage to block with another card and block all 7 of it, but it looks like he's having some difficulty deciding which one to block with. To be fair, it is a kind of difficult situation. He opts to block with that Massacre that he had in hand. Okay. And so then we see, so he did stop the attack, but he did take the 1 arcane damage there. So, we'll see how it progresses. And Tom here is drying up. So now it's back to Scent's turn. Let's see what he's going to do. So one thing he could do, he can't play that Alpha Rampage because he wouldn't have the energy for it. We might see him go with the Bloodrush Bellow that he has, I believe, in Arsenal. I think that's his Arsenal card. So this is a really core card for Brute. So as an additional cost to play this, you discard a random card. Your Brute attacks gain +2 this turn, and if the discarded card has 6 or more attack, you draw 2 cards and this gains go again. So this is able to fuel not only a big attack, but also a big Intimidate, potentially. He does play it using the energy from his Fyendal Spring Tunic. And we're going to see the discarded card is Alpha Rampage. Nice. I think that's probably the one that he would have preferred to discard. That does mean that he's going to draw 2 cards and gain go again on Bloodrush Bellow. And it also is going to Intimidate because of Rhinar's character ability. When you discard a card with 6 or more attack during your action phase, Intimidate. So now he's drawn up some new cards and he's got to think about how he wants to put this together. I think in this situation, he might just want to pitch that Reckless Swing and play the Massacre that he has in hand. So Massacre here, he could play, and it would be if you've discarded a card with 6 or more attack, which he has. Okay, so he's going to pitch the Reckless Swing, but let's see what he does. He could also go for the Smash Instinct, but he goes for the Massacre. So this is, because he's discarded a card with 6 or more, this gains +2 and Intimidate, and then it has an additional +2 from the Bloodrush Bellow. So yeah, Bloodrush Bellow is your Brute attacks gain +2 this turn, and then this is because he's discarded a card with 6 or more attack, he gains +2 and Intimidate. So coming in at strength 10 with 2 cards intimidated, and we're gonna see what the defense looks like here. But I actually, this is a tough attack. This is not something that's going to be super easy to defend against, and we're gonna have to see how exactly his opponent defends. Now, on the plus side, it is just damage. He could just say, whatever, I'll take 10, and then come back hitting hard himself. But he could also defend with the cards in hand, but those Intimidates have restricted his options. So if he wanted to fully defend this, he couldn't. It looks like he is going to just take 10 and come back swinging. So one thing I like to say in this game is that I think tempo is often more important than damage. And in this situation, it seems like maybe the Runeblade is going to try to get a big turn of his own rather than blocking and losing some options for his next turn. He's going to maybe go for a big turn of his own and try to regain some tempo. Now, interestingly, it looks like the Brute player opted not to arsenal his Smash Instinct. I'm a little surprised by that. I don't actually play Brute that much, so I don't know what the flow of cards looks like. Maybe that's a card that you don't want to play that often, so you don't want to put it in an arsenal. But I think that might have been good to do under the circumstances. That's just my opinion, though. Maybe some Brute players or more experienced people could correct me on that. It's possible that he just wants that Smash Instinct in hand, for its pitch, or as a card with strength 6 that can potentially be discarded and trigger Rhinar's ability. It does look like he has another Bloodrush Bellow in hand, so it could be that he's trying to set up a situation where he's going to get some big Intimidates, which would actually be pretty easy to set up. But because his opponent didn't block, we're going to see the Runeblade make a big attack here, potentially, or at least do something this turn before Sent has an opportunity to put his own play together. And because Sent might be put on the defense himself by what our Runeblade player is doing here, that can create a situation where you're not really in a... that can create a situation where you're not really able to do what you might always want. And that's kind of one of the fundamental dynamics of this game. There's a constant like trade-off between, am I going to use these cards to block and protect myself from what my opponent is doing, or am I going to use these cards on offense and advance my own game plan? So a lot of decks are going to be trying to focus on one or the other, and it's kind of interesting to see how that progresses. 1 second, guys. Guys, you're probably going to hear an iPhone plug-in noise here. I apologize. Let's see if that happens. Yep. Sorry about that, guys. That was just me plugging in my phone. And I believe it played that sound on the stream. So no, your own device did not just get disconnected or connected or whatever that is. All right. So let's see what's going on. Looks like, it looks to me like Tom is considering his options. He's been thinking about what to do. He opts to play a Mordred Tide. So that's going to be this is a strong card. Until the end of the turn, if you would create a Runechant token, instead create that many +1 with Go Again. He then plays an Oath of the Arknight. Your next Runeblade attack this turn gains +1, and it makes a Runechant token. That's actually going to make 2 Runechant tokens, and then it's going to make another 2 from Viserai. Because Viserai's Runeblood's character ability is whenever you play a Runeblade card, if you have played another non-attack action card this turn, create a Runechant token. So when he plays this, it makes 1 Runechant token because he already played the Mordred Tide. Then it makes another Runechant token from its ability, and both of those get increased by 1. And then he's going to swing with his Reaping Blade. So this is coming in at strength 3, but it gets +1 from the Oath of the Arknight, so it's actually at strength 4. And then he also has 5 Runechant. Why does he have 5? Oh, I guess he already had 1. Okay. So yeah, then he's going to swing with the Reaping Blade, and that's going to be a total of 5 Runechant tokens +4 damage. So threatening 9 damage. That's a pretty big attack. And the question now, is Sent going to just not block this and throw out a big attack of his own? Yeah, that's what he's doing. No block, take all 9. So we saw both players here decide to just block with their face, take a lot of damage, and come back swinging. That's often a good move to do in this game, quite frankly, especially because if you look at Sent's hand, I think he's going to be able to pull off another Bloodrush Bellow combo this turn, which could be very powerful. So if I were him, I would play Barraging Beatdown into Bloodrush Bellow. It's guaranteed to land. So that's going to be, at least to intimidate. Oh, no, he pitches the Barraging Beatdown. Now, that surprises me. But it might be that he's trying to set things up in a different way. Let's see what happens here. So he pitches the Barraging Beatdown. The Barraging Bighorn is then discarded, so that's going to be an Intimidate. I have to say I'm surprised that he didn't play the Barraging Beatdown. That does surprise me. I think I would have wanted to play the Barraging Beatdown under these circumstances. I think I would have preferred to do that because that would be another Intimidate trigger. Now he could play another Massacre here. So if he plays another Massacre, it is going to get the bonus, and that will be an Intimidate. It'll basically be the same as his last turn, where he's going to get another Intimidate. He's rolling the Scabskin Leathers. This is risky. If he rolls another 1, he loses that. Another 1. He loses that momentum that he built up with the Bloodrush Bellow. I have to say, I don't think this was the right way to play that. I think that it would have been better to play the Barraging Beatdown first, then play the Bloodrush Bellow. And even if it is going to take away your only attacks, you would still potentially have the option to swing with the club. But instead, he goes for the Scabskin Leathers, hoping to get more action points so that he can make multiple attacks. But he rolls the 1, and that means that his turn is just going to end there. So the setup that he had with that Bloodrush Bellow turn, it looked like he was going to have the chance to make another big attack, but he lost his tempo there with the unlucky roll on Scabskin Leathers. Now, Scabskin Leathers is not a reliable card. You have to worry about it. You can solve it to an extent with Gambler's Gloves, or you can at least make it more reliable, but he didn't have that equipped this round, and we really are seeing the downside there. The first time that he rolled the 1, it wasn't as big a deal, but this time he lost what's potentially a big opportunity. On the other hand, if he had rolled a 4 through 6, he would have had 2 or 3 actions, and he could have played one of those attacks and then also made a swing with his club, I believe, which would have potentially allowed a lot of pressure. So it's one of those things where there's where it's high risk, high reward to use it in that sort of situation, and unfortunately, he got the risk side of the exchange rather than the reward side. Let's see what Tom can do now with the tempo that he just gained from that unlucky situation with Scent. So it looks like he's opting to use his Mage Master Boots. Pay 1 energy and destroy them. The next non-attack action card you play this turn gains Go Again. Okay, so he pays 1 energy. He's going to play a red Read the Runes. That card is just make 3 rune chants. Not really a card that I like necessarily, but in this situation, getting the 3 rune chants, and the thing about Read the Runes that's bad is that it normally just ends your turn, and just making 3 rune chants in a turn is not very exciting. But he, in this case, used his Mage Master Boots to get the 3 rune chants with Go Again, and then he plays a Dread Triptych. This is a very interesting card. It comes in at Strength 4. If you've played a non-attack action card this turn, create a rune chant token. He does. If you've dealt arcane damage this turn, create a rune chant token. So his opponent will have to block all 3 to avoid another rune chant token coming in. And if this hits, create a rune chant token. So potentially, this is not only going to threaten some damage, but it also has kind of a double on hit effect, because you will have first the if you've dealt arcane damage this turn, he'll get the rune chant, and then secondly, if this hits, create the rune chant. So he could potentially get up to 2 more rune chants, depending on how the defense works out here. This could be an interesting situation here for our brute player. Let's see how Scent defends. Unfortunately, he doesn't have any blue cards in hand, so if he wants to prevent all the arcane damage from hitting him and therefore getting another rune chant, he'll actually have to pitch 2 cards. I think that's a pretty bad idea, so I think that likely he's going to take the 3 arcane and give the opponent another rune chant, but against the 4 physical damage, it should be easier for him to defend it. I think he can actually just use the I think he has a defense reaction in Arsenal. Yeah, he could just use that springboard somersault that he has in Arsenal. He opts not to do it. I think he's going to hold on to that. He wants to keep his defense strong for a potential future attack. He does block the physical damage, though, so there isn't another rune chant being created, and he's going to use 1 card plus the Scabskin Leathers to get past that 4 damage breakpoint. So one thing in this game is 4 damage is really important, because most cards are going to block only for 3. 4 is the point where the opponent is likely going to have to use either 2 blocks or a defense reaction to stop what you're doing. Very weird hand there that we see from the Runeblade player. He has multiple reduced to rune chants, a defense reaction that also creates a rune chant. Okay, so he pitches and plays Wrecker Romp, and it triggers 2 Intimidates, because one is the so as an additional cost to play this, discard a random card. So then the random card that he discards is Massacre, which itself gives a bonus Intimidate if it's discarded to pay the cost of a brute attack action. And then he also has the Intimidate from Rhinar's ability. So that's 2 Intimidates, and then coming in for 7 damage. So this is a dangerous situation normally, but I actually think his opponent's going to be able to play one of those. Yeah, he doesn't have to take that much damage here. So he plays a reduced to rune chant. This is going to block 4 damage, and it costs 1 less to play for each rune chant you control, so it's free. Oops. Sorry, I moved the camera a bit. Yeah, so then his opponent points out, so Scent was like, costs 1. Normally you'd have to pitch to play that, but because he has rune chants in play, the cost is reduced, and he doesn't have to. I'm just pointing out that Mage Master should be destroyed, right? Okay, so then so that attack, it does get in for 3 damage, and it does get in for 3 damage, but then we're going to see the what's it called coming in. It does get in for 3 damage. Now we're going to see the Runeblade player's own turn coming in. The problem is that his hand is actually pretty non-aggressive. So he has more of those reduced to rune chants, which are only good on the defense. And he has a Mordred Tide, which is... This is the card that I was discussing earlier that he played to make a bunch of rune chants. But unfortunately, he doesn't have anything else that's going to make rune chants this turn. So it wouldn't really do anything for him. I think his best option might be merely to pitch and swing his Reaping Blade for 3+4. But the problem with doing that is it would then leave him without rune chants, so he would be in the situation where if you wanted to play those reduced to rune chants, they would actually cost 1, which is he's going to be in an awkward spot. You know, maybe you pitch one of the reduced to rune chants to swing so that you don't have 2 of them in your hand. Overall, it's not looking great. He's looking at his Crown of Dichotomy, though. Maybe it can get him out of this. The problem with this card, though, is that it puts things on top of your deck, which is not what you want in this situation. He doesn't really have any means of drawing them, but he is going to use it. No, he's rethinking it, maybe. Okay, no, he's going for it. So he's going to use the Crown of Dichotomy. So I think what he's going to do is I think he's actually just going to... so this card doesn't have Go Again. So he's just going to use this to set up his next turn. I think what he's going to do is find something really strong that he can use next turn. Probably one of the attacks that's discounted by the number of rune chants that you have in play, where he's going to be able to take an advantage of it with all these rune... Oh, but he's not. Man, this is very strange. So he goes for a Meet and Greet and an Oath of the Arknight. That's really not what I expected. I would have assumed that it was, in this situation, he would go straight for... Here, let me actually show you here. Maybe I'm misremembering. Yeah, you know what? He didn't have anything that was all that good. Yeah, so you didn't have anything that was all that good in Graveyard. It doesn't search your deck. Normally you would want to have like Arknight Ascendancy or something there, I think. But in this situation, he didn't have the he didn't necessarily have the strongest stuff. So now we see the Scabskin Leathers are rolled again, and this time they do actually give 2 actions. So rolling a 4 divided by 2 is 2. Two actions there for the Brute player, and let's see what he does with them. Chat, what do you guys think about this matchup? And who are you rooting for? Do we have any Brute loyalists or Runeblade loyalists in the chat? I'm curious what you guys think about these characters and about this matchup in particular, if people have experience with it. One interesting thing about Flesh and Blood is in some ways it's kind of like... in some ways it could be considered similar to a fighting game or similar, where character matchups are really important and the game can be very different in different matchups. So for instance, as Warrior, the way that I play against Dash is like super aggressive. I take almost all the defense out of my deck. You know, I'm just going really aggressively and I'm trying to get them and overwhelm them before they can set up. But against, you know, if I'm playing Warrior and I'm playing against another Warrior, my game is going to be much more mid-range. I have some defense reactions that I put in. I'm trying to stop them from getting counters on their Dawnblade. I'm trying to stop them from doing a huge thing. It's a very different sort of situation depending on who the opponent is. You know, similarly, if I'm playing against Guardian, you know, I want to get a defense reaction into Arsenal, get in a position where I can weather a potential big attack with Dominate and prevent myself from getting crushed, and then sort of grind away. It's an interesting way that the different matchups work out. So we see a red Barraging Beatdown coming out here. Sly Knight in chat says, I support Runeblade. And he also says, I think it's too early to know 100% how a matchup goes versus Runeblade. That's fair. You know, I think Runeblade is a character that, you know, people don't necessarily understand as much as some of the other characters. You know, it's a little early. So then the Savage Feast that we see here, discard a random card. If it has 6 or more attack, draw a card. And then this is also, if this attack is defended by less than 2 non-equipment cards, it gains +4. So this is either 6 or 10, depending on if we see 2 cards come out to block it. But the thing that, so I think in this situation you do want to block. He's going to pass to react. No. Okay, so then he is going to play the reduced... Oh, he has 2 reduced to rune chants. That's right. So both those reduced to rune chants come out. They block the attack completely. Because there's 2 of them defending, the Barraging Beatdown bonus is lost. And that also gives 2 rune chants to Tom here, so he's going to have some good options. Then Scent will pitch 2 cards to swing his club, and the club is going to come in at strength 5 because he's discarded a card with 6 or more attack this turn. Yeah, so Slanite's saying that it's too early to know 100% how a matchup goes versus Runeblade because we don't have a clear build at the moment. Yeah, I have to say I agree with you. So Runeblade is one of the classes that I think people have not necessarily figured out as much as some of the other classes. It doesn't have like really big tournament results going for it right now. I personally think Runeblade has a lot of potential. So I think the worst character right now is probably Ranger. And against a Ranger, I usually feel like I have a big advantage and they're just kind of doing something fundamentally weak. When I play against Runeblade, I don't feel like they're doing something fundamentally weak in the same way, but I also think that Runeblade is not quite as figured out in terms of what you're supposed to do playing as it or against it. And as Slanite points out, it's too early to know 100% how matchups go against that just because, what are they going to do? One thing I will say is sometimes I've played against different styles of Runeblade at different times. And it's interesting to see how some of those look. So, for instance, I've seen Runeblade decks that just sit there and make rune chants over and over again and try to build up like one gigantic turn where they have a huge amount of rune chants and a big attack. I've also seen Runeblade decks that are playing almost more like a wide warrior or a ninja, where they're just going to be throwing out a lot of different attacks and trying to threaten you with various things. So in this case, we're going to see he does an Oath of the Arknight. Next Runeblade attack gains +1, and he gets a rune chant token. And then he's going to swing with Meet and Greet, which is going to create a rune chant token if it hits. And additionally, if he deals arcane damage, it will gain Go Again. But the problem is he doesn't have any energy with which to do anything if it does score that hit. So he's going to be in a little bit of, he's not going to be like in a huge like problem state or whatever. But he isn't going to be able to swing with his Reaping Blade to follow it up. Sorry about that, guys. And then he is also going to get a rune chant token from Viserai's ability. Whenever you play a Runeblade card, if you've played another non-attack action card this turn, create a rune chant token. So because he played that Oath, he does get another one. It looks like Sant opts to take 7 arcane damage. And now let's see if he defends against the 5 physical damage. I think he would like to prevent a rune chant from hitting. He declares no block. But I do think... Okay, then he throws out the Springboard Somersault that he has in Arsenal, which is going to defend 4 of it. So Springboard Somersault's a defense reaction that only defends for 2, but if it's played for Arsenal, it gains +2. So then 1 damage does get through, and that does mean the on-hit effect triggers, granting a Rune Chant token. So pretty strong attack there, but Sent has conserved his resources, and he will have the opportunity to do some stuff on his own turn. I think we're likely going to see him try to set up the Tome of Fyendal in Arsenal. That's often a strong move. Sly Knight says if that CNC was played first on Sent's previous turn, that would be lethal. Yeah, so Command and Conquer... he ended up pitching his Command and Conquer, but that card can't be defended by defense reactions. So... if he had been able to play that CNC there, his opponent wouldn't have been able to stop it and would have taken like 10 or 7 damage or whatever. I guess actually, he could have tried to defend it with equipment, but I think it still would have been really big. And I think it would have gotten in and smashed the arsenal there, which would be pretty tight. Wow, brutal. So he rolls the Scabskin Leathers again and rolls another 1. So in this situation, I think he probably wanted to do something like, pitch, use his club, and then swing, and then play that Time Snap potion. But he rolled the 1 and lost his turn. It wasn't going to be a huge turn, so it's not as bad a tempo loss as some other things have been, but it's still definitely not what you want to see as the Brute player here. He's been rolling that Scabskins multiple times, and he has not been... he's not been getting results. I think he's rolled it like 4 times, and I think he's gotten 3 1s out of 4 rolls. That's very unlucky. He did get 2 actions the other time, but on net, out of 4 times with the Scabskins, he's managed to get 2 actions out of it, and he's lost 3 actions, so he's actually negative on net. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not actually a big fan of rolling Scabskin Leathers this much, just because stuff like this can happen. And, you'll say, but that's unlucky. And, yes, it is unlucky. But at the same time, I would rather play a style of Brute that doesn't give yourself the chance to get unlucky in that fashion. I know one player, Grendel, who's a player I knew from L5R and is now playing this game, has been playing a lot of Brute, and I think his attack style, I've often seen him not equip the Gambler's Gloves and just almost never roll on Scabskins at all and just use it for armor, try to play a more consistent game, which I think is interesting. And so we're going to see another Oath of the Arknight played, and it's followed up by a Rune Flash, which is actually free. It costs 1 less to play for each rune chant you control, and there are 3 rune chants, and it has Go Again. So this is coming in at strength 4 with Go Again, and there's also 3 rune chants, and then it also has +3. So it's 7 with Go Again and 3 rune chants. Pretty nasty attack, and this time he is going to be able to follow it up. I think in all likelihood we're going to see him follow up with a swing of the Reaping Blade for another 3 damage +1 rune chant. It's very aggressive, and the Brute player's health is starting to dwindle a little here. We see him down at 15. He's down at 15, and he's also used all his armor except that 1 block from the tunic. He pitches the Time Snap Potion and throws out an Unmovable from hand. Strong. Unmovable, defending for 7 here, and it is going to stop all that physical damage. So he's not getting hit hard there. And then, interestingly, his opponent is opting to play that Read the Runes instead of swinging the Reaping Blade. That's going to make 4 rune chants. It has 3 base, and then because it had another non-attack action was played, Viserai will trigger for another one. So we're really seeing a lot of rune chants here, which are able to continue the pressure. Oh, and he has drawn Arknight Ascendancy. This is one of the best cards. It's kind of a signature finishing move or whatever for Viserai. So the way this works is that it costs 1 less to play for each rune chant you control, and if it hits, it creates X rune chants, where X is the damage dealt by it. So now we see Sent once again rolling the Scabskin Leathers. This time he does get the 2 actions, and I think we're going to see him pitch and use his Tome of Fyendal that he has in Arsenal. Yep, that's what we see, Tome of Fyendal. So this is a strong card from the Welcome to Wraith base set. And this is going to be draw 2 cards. If it's played from Arsenal, gain 1 life for each card in hand. So he does get to heal 3. That'll offset some of the damage he's been taking. Sly Knight says, Oath of the Arknight can buff the weapon attack as well, compared to Mavrian Skies, which can buff only Runeblade attack action cards. Yeah, so that's an interesting thing in this game. So there's some cards that only buff, attack actions, attack action cards. Some cards only buff weapon attacks, and some cards just buff attacks. So things that buff attacks can work either on weapon swings or on attack cards, and some cards are more specialized and can only affect one type. He's then going to follow up. So he follows up that Tome of Fyendal just with a basic club swing for 4. Okay. Yeah, pretty basic there. No block. His opponent passes to react, and we're gonna see the Sink Below played from hand here. So this is another kind of a very common card, kind of a staple card. You may put a card from your hand on the bottom of your deck if you do draw a card. So it's gonna block for 4, block that whole attack, and it looks like his opponent. It looks like Tom doesn't opt to use the actual effect to switch up what's in his hand, but that kind of cycle ability can often be very useful. Yeah, Sly Knight says, I think he likes his hand, and to be honest, as the commentator, I like his hand. I think his hand's very strong. I think that he's going to be able to play Come to Fight into that Arknight Ascendancy, and it's going to be really huge. And that's exactly what he's doing. So he plays the Come to Fight, and then he plays Arknight Ascendancy. It normally costs 6, but he only has to pay 1 because of his 5 rune chants, and it's buffed by the Come to Fight for a +3 attack. So this is really scary. This is coming in at strength 8. And if it hits, it creates X rune chants, where X is the damage dealt. He also has 5 rune chants, and he also has Dominate. Dominate means you can only defend with 1 card from hand. And that is going to really constrain the defense options here for Sent. But the one good thing for Sent is that he does have a defense reaction in Arsenal. So he is going to be able to defend with 1 card from hand and then play a defense reaction from Arsenal. And that will allow him to stop most of that damage and prevent his opponent from making a huge number of rune chants. Very interesting situation here. Looks like he's pitching a card to... it looks like he's going to pitch a card to block some of the arcane damage here, maybe. Block 2 arcane. Okay. Yeah, pitches a yellow beatdown there. Then he's going to take 3 damage from the arcane. And then he's thinking about his defense against the that. So he's going to block for 3. And then he's going to follow it up with that Sink Below. Yeah, there's the Sink Below that he has in Arsenal. So that's going to be a total of 7. So he will still take 1, and 1 rune chant will be created. But all things considered, that could have been a lot worse. That could have been a lot worse. And we're going to see, so just 1 damage getting through, so just 1 bonus rune chant from that attack. You know, if he hadn't had that defense reaction in Arsenal, we would have seen him probably take an additional 4 damage, and we would have seen an additional 4 rune chants, which would be just potentially devastating, quite frankly. Okay. Sly Knight says Arcanate Ascendancy, Triptych, and Spellblade Assault are the ideal attacks so that you can have rune chance after the attack. Okay. So then the yeah, so that's an interesting situation. The way that this works is okay. So they did take the damage correctly. I wasn't sure about those life totals. Yeah. So if you're playing Reduced to Rune Chant in particular, it's very, very, very important that you have a Rune Chant available when you want to play it, because that card is so much worse when you don't have a Rune Chant than when you do. And the reason for that is that if you so to be fair, you could be playing Fyendal Spring Tunic. If you're playing Fyendal Spring Tunic, it's more reliable that you can be able to play a 1-cost defense reaction. So Warrior often does that to play Steelblade Shunt, but I think most Runeblades are not playing Tunic and are instead playing the Bloodsheath Skeleton, which provides better physical armor and can lead to a really explosive turn, because it can provide a very large discount if you've built up some rune chants. But yeah, because you want to have a rune chant available so that you don't have to pitch something to play the Reduced to Rune Chant, some of these cards that generate rune chants on hit or similar can be really useful, because as Sly Knight said, you can have rune chants after the attack. So Sly Knight points out Skeleton is like 150% better than Tunic IMO. I think Skeleton is like wildly better than Tunic in draft, and in constructed I think it's probably better, but less so. So then this attack is coming in. I think there were, so another Mavrian Skies. So next Runeblade attack action card you play this turn gains, or I'm sorry, this is the first Mavrian Skies. Next Runeblade attack action card you play this turn gains Go Again, and if this hits, create 3 Rune Chant tokens. And then he's going to play a Drawn to the Dark Dimension for Strength 3, draw a card. If this hits, create 3 Rune Chants. It is going to be blocked, so we aren't going to see all those bonus Rune Chants. And the 3 Rune Chants that were coming in were actually also blocked, interestingly. And then he's going to pitch a Dread Triptych and come in with a Consuming Volition. Interesting. So then there's a single Rune Chant coming in, and if that hits, then the Consuming Volition will gain. If this hits the opponent, they discard a card. So in this situation, he uses his Tunic to block the Rune Chant. Nice one. Ooh, that's a good play. So he had his Tunic charged up. So Tunic is a card where you get 1 token at the start of each turn. And if you have 3 tokens, 1 token at the start of each turn, maximum 3. And if you have 3 tokens, you can discard them all to get 1 energy as an instant. So in this case, I think what he's going to do is he uses the Tunic to block that 1 arcane damage, and now he can afford to take the hit from Consuming Volition because the on-hit effect is disabled, and then he can begin making a more aggressive play of his own. I think that's what we're going to see here. Yeah, I think that's what we're going to see here. It should be very interesting. So this was actually, now the interesting thing with Consuming Volition is that if the earlier Rune Chants had hit, then it would still be enabled. So if the Rune Chants from the first attack, that Drawn to the Dark Dimension, had hit, you don't have to hit with just the Rune Chants that are coming in before that particular effect. So it would potentially have that discard enabled, and it would have forced a block or a discard, which is a nasty spot to be in. But because we saw Sent defending those Rune Chants, he ended up in a spot where he didn't need to worry about that. Ends up taking the 4 damage, but doesn't go down on cards to do so. And now we're going to see whether he's going to put together an attack of his own. This could be his opportunity here. So he could play this Sand Sketched plan, find a card that has 6 or more attack, and then the random discard would be guaranteed to hit something with 6 or more attack, which would mean he would get 2 action points and he could use the tome. He rolls and hits a 5. So he's going to get 2 action points without having to play the Sand Sketched plan. So then he can pitch the Sand Sketched plan for the energy. So he doesn't have to play it. And then he plays the Tome of Fyendal here. So he's going to draw 2 and heal 3. So draw 2 cards. If it's played from Arsenal, gain 1 life for each card in hand. And he still has 2. We could see a Barraging Beatdown here. We could see Barraging Beatdown into either a Club Swing or that Command and Conquer. And then he could put the Sink Below in Arsenal and have a defense reaction ready. I think that's likely what we're going to see. The question is just, is he going to go for the CNC or is he going to swing his club? So he gets an Intimidate. Now, if he goes for the CNC, his opponent actually won't be able to defend with 2 cards, or 2 non-equipment cards at least, because he has 2 defense reactions in hand, which can't be played against CNC. So he could score that beatdown bonus if he goes for the CNC, but he doesn't go for it. He goes for the Romping Club instead. And so that's going to be a smaller attack, and it is going to be able to be stopped. Slime Knight says Lucky Intimidate. Normally, if he had gone for the CNC, it would have been a Lucky Intimidate, but because he didn't, this is actually going to be quite stoppable, I feel. And we do see Tom, he's going to Sink Below. Interestingly, he's putting that other defense reaction back. I think he's going to use the Sink Below. Sent says that he forgot the Tunic trigger, would you mind? And his opponent says go for it. That's a gentlemanly play there. It is possible to forget the Tunic. It's you may gain a token. It's not mandatory, so there is that aspect of like, you missed your trigger. But I think it's sportsmanlike to allow the opponent to take it, even if it's not something that you have to do. Okay. So that attack did end up, I think, doing 2 damage because of the Blood Rush Bellow, or because of the Barraging Beatdown bonus, rather. That's a good question. Did he take damage? He didn't take it. Good catch. Good catch there, Chuningman. Okay, so in that situation, the Barraging Beatdown is your next brute attack this turn gains. If this attack is defended by less than 2 non-equipment cards, it gains +2. Sent says, I am the all-seeing eye, and I said to thank Chonigman instead, because he's the one who spotted that. Good eye there, Chonigman. So let's see here. All right, so we're going to see Mavrian. This is actually a very bland turn here. He's just going to, it looks like he's just going to pitch that Mavrian Skies and swing his Reaping Blade. So he does have 2 rune chants +3 damage there. So he is threatening 5 damage. It's not nothing, but it's not a really big turn. And Sent is going to opt to take the 2 arcane damage, and then I think we'll see if he blocks this. Personally, like as Sent, I'm getting kind of low. I might think about like what's my plan for my next turn. I think I would block this. I would block this with the Wrecker Romp, and then next turn I would pitch Reckless Swing and play Alpha Rampage probably. And because that's like a good turn, like that's like at least decent, even if he's not doing anything that fancy. But we'll see. He could go for the Reckless Swing here also. I think it's guaranteed to land. Oh, and he actually has a Sink Below. Wow, he has just a plethora of options, really. I didn't realize he had that Sink Below in Arsenal. I don't think he wants to actually use the Sink Below because he has a good turn, but then he can put the Reckless Swing in, or he can put something in Arsenal. He probably doesn't want to put the Reckless Swing in Arsenal because it gives a mischance. Okay, so yeah, stop the defense reaction in Arsenal there, stopping the attack. And so it's 11-20. Now, interestingly, Tom is actually quite ahead, more than it would appear just from the life totals, because it's 11-20, but it's actually more like 12-26 if you count equipment blocks. As There's one equipment block remaining from the Tunic, which has Blade Break, so you don't want to block with it until quite late. Which means that Scent really has more like 12 life. But then there's the equipment blocks. There's both the Grasp of the Arknight and the Bloodsheath Skeleton block for 2 at first, and then can block again for 1. So that's actually like 6 bonus health. Now, interestingly, he's not going for the Alpha Rampage. Instead, he's just going to throw out Command and Conquer here. I'm a little surprised by that. I have to say. Now, it is going to put his opponent in an awkward spot. You know, Command and Conquer is a very strong card. So defense reactions can't be played to Command and Conquer's Chain Link, and if it hits a hero, destroy all cards in their arsenal. So it's coming in for 6. Now, interestingly, we're going to see a single card, and then Bloodsheath Skeleton and Grasp of the Arknight used. So he's going to use his equipment to only lose 1 card here. He overblocks by 1. That's interesting. Okay, so he did successfully stop that Command and Conquer. I'm kind of surprised that he did it with 1 card in his equipment instead of with 2 cards. But let's see, you know, maybe he's thought about it and he's decided, you know, I have a plan and I really need to have these other cards to do it. I'm going to use that equipment to increase my tempo and make a big play. So that's the other thing about equipment. Because equipment blocks can be taken at any time, they're kind of a reserve that you have where when circumstances demand, you can use those equipment blocks to do, you can use those equipment blocks to get the attack in with a full hand or whatever. Like maybe, you know, your opponent does something threatening, but you have equipment, you can block it with your equipment and then make a big attack of your own without having lost the cards in your hand. But you have to kind of save it for the right moment. You know, sometimes I see people using the equipment blocks too early or against things that are just damage that you don't really care about. Normally, you want to use equipment blocks, in my opinion, to stop powerful on-hit effects, unless it's a really desperate situation for some reason. And in this situation, we did see Tom doing a good job of saving his equipment to a later state in the game, and he uses that equipment to prevent the powerful on-hit effect from Command and Conquer that would have destroyed the card that he had in Arsenal. Come to Fight is played here. He pitches the Rune Flash to play Come to Fight. Okay. And then he's going to play the Dread Triptych, I believe. Yeah, okay, so his plan was Come to Fight into Dread Triptych, and he realized he had to use all his cards to do that, so he used his equipment to prevent him from losing stuff and do this big combo. So this is going to come in at Strength 7. He's played a non-attack action card, so it gets a Rune Chant. If he deals arcane damage, it creates a Rune Chant, but he doesn't have any Rune Chant tokens, so it won't deal arcane damage. But if it hits, create a Rune Chant. So Strength 7, and if it hits, it will create a Rune Chant. And he also got 1 from playing it, and another 1 from the first bonus. Dread Triptych is an interesting card. The bonus Rune Chants that it gets can really enable an interesting situation. So we'll see whether or not Scent here wants to block 7. His card in Arsenal, he could block 7. So he could use a card from hand and the Reckless Swing that he has in Arsenal to block 7. But the question is he going to do it? I don't know. You know, he might just say that he's going to take some of the damage and give his opponent a Rune Chant token. We'll see how he does this. Personally, I think I might want to play that Reckless Swing. The problem is it has a high miss chance. So Reckless Swing, you have to discard a random card. And if the discarded card has 6 or more attack, it deals 2 damage to the attacking hero, which is really, really strong. But he only has 1 card in hand with 6 or more attack, which means that he has a 75% miss chance on that bonus damage, which probably means it's not worth it to play the Reckless Swing here. Although I don't know, it's going to depend on what he wants to do with his turn. You know, maybe he's fine with just doing that so that he can put the Springboard Somersault in Arsenal and get that set up. You know, we'll see how it goes. Springboard Somersault, by the way. So Reckless Swing is a blue, which means it pitches for 3, which is better than most defense reactions. A lot of defense reactions for 4 are going to be cost 0. And then this, so he does go for it. Blocks with the Blood Rush Bellow, and then he uses the Reckless Swing. So he has a 1 in 3 to hit the Reckless Swing and deal 2 damage, which is basically unblockable. Let's see what he gets. No, he discards the Springboard Somersault. That's rough. That's a card that he would have liked to set up in Arsenal for next turn, I believe. So Springboard Somersault and Reckless Swing both block for 4, despite being a yellow and blue respectively, which means that they have pitch to fuel your offense while also being a nice card for defense. But the downside of these cards, the Springboard Somersault only blocks for 4 if you have it in Arsenal, and otherwise it's just 2. And the Reckless Swing has that random discard, which you can often have as a positive if you are going to hit the random discard and do the bonus damage. But in this case, he missed it, so it was just the defense and didn't get the 2 bonus damage. And that bonus damage from Reckless Swing is actually extremely dangerous because damage from defense reaction cards can't be blocked against. There are a few instants that you can play that would either heal you or prevent the damage from a defense reaction, I believe. But the aside from those instants, which are not all that commonly played, especially in this format, it's a situation where you're really going to be in a spot where you don't want to go down to 2 life against a brute, because that Reckless Swing is just going to kill you in 1 hit. You don't have the option to block with it with cards from hand, so it's kind of a way to get some unblockable damage through and snipe the opponent. The other card that can do that is the Steelblade Shunt from Warrior. Deals 1 damage as it's a defense reaction. It deals 1 damage, but only if it's defending against a weapon attack. So in some cases, you can play around Steelblade Shunt by using attack actions instead of weapon attacks. If you have a class that has a bunch of attack action cards and think you can kill your opponent with just those, you can do that to avoid the potential 1 damage from the Shunt. So he plays a Remembrance. This is a instant that allows you to shuffle up to 3 action cards from your graveyard into your deck. And then he's going to just put a card in Arsenal and pass. It's interesting. I think I would have preferred to pitch the Remembrance and swing, but in this case, he decided to play it. All right. And that's going to be his turn. He's going to put that card in Arsenal and pass. He could have also pitched that card and used his Tunic to get 2 energy and then swing, but he might be saving that Tunic for potentially blocking Rune Chance or enabling a bigger play of his own rather than just a club swing. And we see another Oath of the Arknight being played, and it's followed up by a Spellblade Assault. So Spellblade Assault, Strength 2, create 2 Runechant tokens. This one's going to be Strength 3. And 3 Runechant tokens, and then there's going to be 3 more because there's going to be 2 created by the Spellblade Assault plus 1 from Viserai's ability. So this is coming in for 3 plus 3, and then it also is going to create some Rune Chants for the future. So threatening 6 damage. Now we could see one of the blue cards that Sent has in hand pitch to block the Rune Chants, and then we could see a just any card used. Okay, so he pitches his Awakening Bellow blue for 3 energy, which he's going to use with his Nullring Gloves to block the arcane damage there from the 3 Rune Chants. And then we're going to see whether he has another card for the defense against that Spellblade Assault. Let's see how it goes. Now let's see here. He's thinking about it. Now, he could just take the damage, but our Runeblade player, Tom, here, is really wearing Sent down. He does opt to block, 11 to 20. And as I had discussed earlier, the armor situation means it's really more like 12 to 26 here. We do see a block. So now, pitch for 3, and then I think we're going to see him play that Alpha Rampage that he had in Arsenal. Alpha Rampage, a majestic card there, which is a high rarity card. Rhinar specialization coming in, and it has Intimidate. He discards a random card. The card that he discarded is this Breakneck Battery, which is a Strength 6, so he gets another Intimidate from Rhinar's ability. So 2 Intimidates coming in, and then a swing for 9. So this is guaranteed to do at least some damage. The question is just how much. How much does Tom want to defend against this attack? He has a Command and Conquer in hand. Now, Command and Conquer, because it's one of the main benefits of this card is that it can destroy the opponent's arsenal. We might well see it used on the defense here, because you can frequently be in a situation where defending if you know your opponent isn't going to have a card in arsenal on your next turn, you're like, Command and Conquer is strong, but maybe this is a time to block with it because I wouldn't be getting the benefit out of it if I played it anyway. Maybe it's better just to block. Let's see whether or not that's the choice that Tom selects here, though. He could just take 9 damage. He would still be at a overall life advantage if he did, because he would have that equipment. He would have equal life, but he would have the equipment blocks. And then the interesting thing to think about here also is the prospect for your opponent to combo you out. So if Brute gets a really big combo with, they do like a Blood Rush Bellow, they do multiple barraging beatdowns, they intimidate your whole hand, and they come in with some attack that has a bunch of buffs, it is possible for them to just kill you. A big combo from Brute can potentially deal like 15 damage or more. So sometimes you don't want to get too low against a Brute, and it looks like maybe Tom realizes that. He's going to block for 6 and then take 3 damage from that attack. So he used both the cards that he could block with to block. He could have also blocked with his equipment, but he saved that. Now, one interesting thing about equipment is often you want to save it to block on hit effects. An interesting thing about Brute is that Brute actually doesn't have on hit effects. Now, sometimes, you might see life for a life, and it's very frequent that you'll see Command and Conquer. So, but that normal rule about wanting to save your equipment for on-hit effects is less relevant for Brute than it is for some other classes. Though in this situation, we did see him save it and then use it against that CNC. So, he did, even though it's less relevant in this matchup than some, it's still relevant, and we did see it used in that fashion. That said, he could have afforded to use one of his pieces of equipment first, and then he would still have the option to block for 3 with the 2 pieces of equipment, 1 for 2 and 1 for 1, plus a card for 3, and therefore block all 6 of a CNC. Oh, we're going to see the Scabskin Leathers being rolled again. Let's see what result it's going to get. Sent rolls the die. Oh, another 1! Brutal! He loses his turn. That is not what he wanted to see. This could be quite bad. He's losing a lot of tempo here. We see him get out the drawing tool, and he writes 4 times in an angry smiley face in reference to his Scabskin Leathers. So once again, Scabskin Leather is really kind of risky sometimes, and in this situation, he unfortunately saw the negative side of that, and he's going to lose another turn, and we were seeing him put some pressure on. We were seeing his opponent, Tom, having to make more passive and defensive plays, but with Sent missing another turn, he could be in a lot of trouble. Tempo is so important in this game, and there's 6 rune chance. This is going to be an opportunity, actually, for a huge attack. This is going to be an opportunity for a huge attack from Tom. I think what Sent would have liked is to threaten a lot of damage and force his opponent to block, but I don't think what's going to happen. Sly Knight says that's GG, 8 dominate with 10 runes. Yeah, I actually think that is probably going to close out the game. So the thing is, we see another one of these Arknight Ascendancies in hand. This is that card I highlighted earlier, one of the big moves. It actually is free right now because of all the rune chance he controls, and if it hits, it will create more rune chance. It has Dominate, so his opponent won't be able to stop it completely, and he could potentially play one of these other cards. He could play that Oath of the Arknight to give it +3. Yeah, I think Mordred Oath Ascendancy. I think that's the right play. Yeah, Choningman says, oh man, Mordred Oath Ascendancy in chat. And yeah, I think he's right. Oh no, he's going to go even bigger. He's using his Bloodsheath Skeleton. So he uses the Bloodsheath Skeleton. The next attack action card and non-attack action card you play this turn gain. This card costs 1 less to play for each rune chant you control. I think he's doing this so that he can play... But this doesn't even make sense. Oh, he wants to keep something in Arsenal, I guess? Yeah, I don't know why he did that. I would not have used the Bloodsheath Skeleton here. I would have just pitched that blue Oath, but I guess he wants to save the Oath for the next turn. Yeah, I don't know why he used the Bloodsheath Skeleton. I think it was unnecessary. But even though he used the Bloodsheath Skeleton unnecessarily, he is still coming in for 10 rune chance plus 8 dominate. And for every point of physical damage he inflicts, that is going to make another rune chant, and he makes 2 rune chants from Viserai's ability. So this is a extremely worrisome attack, to say the least. So the best that this could be the game. So the best that Scent can do is he could block 5 of the physical damage and take 3. That would put him on 8 life, and then he would also have to block, and that would be if he used his Tunic and the Reckless Swing. That would put him on 8 life, so he would also have to block at least 3 Rune Chants. He could block 1 with the Tunic and then pitch that blue Barraging Beatdown, and then could block 4 of them. He could take 6 plus 3 and be alive on 2 health, and I think that's what he should do here. But it's going to put him in a critical spot. Yeah, Slanite says pitch Tunic and use it as well. That's right. So I think he wants to use his Tunic he wants to use the energy charged up on his Tunic to block 1. It looks like he's going for a full... This is wrong. This is definitely wrong. He does not want to do that. Now he can't play the Reckless Swing, and I think he just killed himself. Yeah, so the problem is Reckless Swing has okay, so he puts that back. Okay. Make that block 5, take 5. So I think he should use his Tunic and block an additional 1 because I think he wants to use the Tunic for physical defense. And then he's going to use the Reckless Swing, and it discards that CNC. So that is going to inflict 2 damage on his opponent. Blocking 4, taking 4, dealing 2. Okay, so he didn't use the Tunic, but I think what he's going to do is use his Tunic to play the Tome that he has in Arsenal, and then he'll heal 2. And the problem is that he's going to get a bunch of extra Rune Chants. And then 5 Rune Chants are created. It would be 4, but it has +1 for Mordred Tide. Scent says, yikes, Runeblade's scary. Yeah, and then... Tom points out I did not have to pop my Skeleton. LOL. Yeah, that was a mistake. He should not have used a Skeleton there. It didn't do anything. He should have just pitched, because he didn't put that card in Arsenal either, because you don't normally want to put blues in Arsenal. So he really should have just pitched that blue instead of popping his Skeleton. All right, we're gonna see here if Scent can make an incredible comeback. He's really in trouble. There's 7 Rune Chants on the board. He does have that Tome of Fyendal in Arsenal, which he now plays using his Tunic. So that's going to draw him 2 cards, and it will heal him 2 life. Then he could potentially put a card in Arsenal. And then, yeah, so he'll probably want to put something in Arsenal there. Probably the Barraging Beatdown. Alpha Rampage is a risky card to have in Arsenal because it's so expensive and requires setup. So sometimes you might just not be able to play it. I think it would be better to put the Beatdown in Arsenal here and potentially defend with the Alpha Rampage. But we'll see how it goes. Yeah, Beatdown in Arsenal. Alpha Rampage there for potential defense. Does draw another Reckless Swing. So he has at least some stuff there, and he didn't draw like all red. If you draw all red in this situation, you're in huge trouble because you need energy to block those Runechant tokens. But he does have some energy, so he might be able to live for a while longer. We'll see. But he's definitely far in the defensive now. I think that Tom had the advantage earlier, but the situation has gotten even worse for Scent. Rolling that 1 recently and rolling that 1 to lose all his tempo and allow that huge turn from Tom is really not what he wants. If we imagine a situation where he was able to, maybe do, I'm not saying like it's the dream where he rolls a 6 and does something huge, but maybe he does 2 attacks that are pretty good and Tom has to defend a bit. He could be in a much better spot, or Ascent could be in a much better spot, just making that big turn a little worse. Like, maybe he forces his opponent to defend with 2 cards, does a little bit of damage, and then his opponent does, like, Skeleton. He could maybe still do, like, Skeleton, Oath, Ascendancy, but maybe he had to discard the Mordred Tide on defense. You know what I mean? There could still be a situation where more pressure was on. Cyanite says, search for the last Ascendancy with Become the Arknight or Rattle Bones. Well, not what he opted to do. Instead, he's going to go for a Mauvrion Skies. Next Runeblade attack action card you play this turn gains Go Again, and if this hits, create 3 Runechant tokens. Then he plays an Amplify the Arknight. So strength 6. It costs 1 less to play for each rune chant you control, so it's actually free here. So strength 6 with Go Again for free is, of course, amazing. That said, the weakness of this card is that, of course, strength 6 for 3 with no relevant card text is awful. So it's only good if you have those rune chants. We are seeing some pitching here. Pitch is 4. I think he's dead here. I don't think he's going to be able to live through this. Block 4, Arcane, take 3. Unhappy face. And then, no, he's just dead. He can't stop this. Yeah, he can't stop it at all. He needed to use that reckless swing. He needed to pitch. So if he had pitched with the reckless swing, he could have blocked 2 more damage and then used the 2 cards for physical defense and stopped that completely. But the problem with that is that he would have then just gotten killed by the follow-up because of the Go Again. And yeah, that's GG. And Tom says Scabskin was bad to you this game. Sent says rolling for Scabs has never been so heartbreaking. Yeah, I have to say, 4 different times he rolled a 1 on Scabskin Leathers and lost momentum. And, each of those tempo losses, there was a time when I thought Sent was doing some good pressure and so on. There was that turn where he was potentially going to do a huge turn with Blood Rush Bellow, and then that 1 on Scabskin Leathers just kills his tempo. He doesn't get a big combo off, and his opponent is able to take that time to make some attacks. We did see Tom doing some more passive turns as well. There were some turns where he was just playing Read the Runes or whatever. But yeah, so overall, good game there. Strong performance by the Runeblade here, it turned out, where he was able to really put the pressure on and capitalize on those moments. Sent says that he's only played against an OTK Runeblade, so it's refreshing to see what else it can do. So OTK is an abbreviation for 1 turn kill. 1 turn kill is usually not realistic. Like, you usually don't actually kill the opponent in 1 hit. But the concept of OTK is that you're going to do some gigantic turn. You're going to just build up a huge amount of rune chants and then do a big attack. Usually you're going to either do Ninth Blade of the Blood Oath, or you're going to do Arcanite Descendancy. Sometimes you're going to try to play Slogism beforehand. So you're potentially doing, a huge attack, maybe with Dominate, or maybe just a huge amount of damage and a lot of rune chants as well. And in the meantime, you're trying to do turns where you just play Read the Runes and defend and so on. I actually really don't like OTK Runeblade. That's not my favorite deck. I think it's too passive. Since experience in the past had been against that, this deck Tom went for a more aggro style, and that was, we saw that be fairly effective. He had a fair amount of stuff that could, go again. He was still generating a lot of rune chants and, making and threatening both the arcane and the physical damage, but he wasn't taking as many passive turns. He was playing a little more aggressive. So, good show there. That's going to do it for this game. And Sent says, biggest takeaway, stop rolling Scabs if I don't need to. Yeah, I have to agree with him. If you roll Scabskin Leathers when you don't need to, maybe you get a bonus, but I think the upside of potentially getting 2 actions or 3 actions in a situation where those actions have marginal value is often not worth it relative to the downside of losing your turn, because losing your turn is really, really bad. Okay. So that's going to do it for this broadcast, guys. Thanks for watching, and we're going to be back later with some more Flesh and Blood TCG content. If you want to have some more information on strategy, you can check out my blog. I have a blog at TowerNumberNine.com, and so that is going to have some information. I have some articles there, an overview of the different I have some overviews of the different classes. I have some basic articles on offense and defense, on important breakpoints, on deck building, and there's going to be more to come there. So check that out if you want to see some more content for this game. And until next time, guys, I will catch you later. Thanks for watching.